time.
Hello, everyone. This is a Knitting Pipeline Extra. It is a video episode for all the other crafts that I do in addition to knitting, and I will show you some knitting first. I have with me my favorite co-host and sister. I only have one sister, and she would be the favorite regardless. And we're multi-craftual, both of us. We get into things, and so today I'm going to show you what I've been knitting on, and then we're going to talk about embroidery, Japanese sashiko, and boro, and quilting. Not necessarily in that order, except for the knitting. So those of you who are knitters and just want to see the knitting, then you can say goodbye then. So first of all, we should introduce ourselves further. I am Paula. I'm PrairiePiper on Ravelry, and you can find me on, you can find me on YouTube as Knitting Pipeline, and the same on Instagram. And Gayle, are you ready?
I am on Instagram.
You're on Instagram.
Yeah.
What's your Instagram?
Just Gayle, and then my last name is Joehl. I don't post much, but I'll start.
You might start, because people would like to see
that.
it. You can post that. That'd be fun. I don't post that much either, but I have at times, and I always say I'm going to get better, and then I don't. And let's see. Oh, thanks to all of you for your well wishes. I have had surgery. I'm 2.5 weeks past my surgery date, and I'm doing great. I have the morning is my good time, so that's when we're recording. You're getting one of those special hours of feeling well, and then I'm just dealing with side effects that aren't that bad, but just, I don't feel like doing much, quite honestly. But tomorrow I'm going for my post-op surgery appointment, so that's a big milestone as well. Did I cover all the stuff we need? Yeah. Okay. All right, so generally we start with knitting, and last time I told you that I was going to make another of Susan B. Anderson's dolls because we had our granddaughters here for a few days for a long weekend, and our sons, 2 of our sons, and the other son and his wife came for 10 days to be here with me and Gayle for my surgery. And my daughter-in-law's a nurse, so that was extra handy as well. So I already had made this one, but since I have 2 granddaughters, I needed to make another one, and they did really enjoy them. They played with them, they carried them around, and I'm going to make a third one, I think. So there's a little bit, I just want to make it. There are 3. This is a pattern by Susan B. Anderson, and they're Millie, Molly, and Morgan, and I've made Millie and Morgan, so I need to make the other one. I want to make the other one. They're really fun to knit, and their clothes are even more fun to knit. So the girls did enjoy those. And also in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we did to get the house really special for the girls, since they live far away, and I wanted to have plenty of things for them to do, and it ended up I probably had too much. So Gayle, before we go too much further, we had 2 questions. I might have gotten sidetracked and didn't go through all, so if I missed your question, you can ask me again, or I'll look at the notes again. But Elizabeth C. asked where I got the bags for my blanket knitting, and that is the Northeasterly that I'm knitting. When I said I never would never knit another blanket now that I'm a quilter. So this is the bag she asked about, I believe, and it does have my Northeasterly in it. I have finished 2 strips, and I'm working on the 3rd strip, and I figure I'm going to need between 10 and 12 strips. The bag is from Jenna Rose on Etsy. She's in Canada, and she does all her own designs of the fabric. And then this one, does it have a pocket? Well, there are no pockets, but I just love the fabric because it has hummingbirds on it, so I bought that. And then, since this is a similar bag made by a U.S. bag maker who is Jan Smiley on Ravelry, and she's Jan Smiley Bags. And it also is kind of this one is a little more sturdy fabric, like a decorator's fabric, and it does have a pocket on the inside. It has these strings that if you want to close it, you can you can close it, and then you have your handles, leather handles. So that I bought at my Georgia retreat last year. The second question is, I don't remember who asked it, but we talked about it in the last episode, and right after that episode, I got a catalog from Connecting Threads, and lo and behold, right in there on page 24, and if you don't know what Connecting Threads is, it's like the sister company to Knit Picks, and they have really nice quality goods. I mean, they're not high end, but I've used quite a bit of them, and I'm generally happy with them. So this is Sue Spargo wool bundles, and I was tempted to order some of these myself. So you get a range of colors, and if you're just starting out a wool project, I think it'd be a great deal. You get 6 colors in each packet, and they're 9-inch by 7-inch pieces for $24. And they have, well, like 10 different packets you can get. So I was tempted to get them, but I have a lot of wool, so I'm going to hold off. I'm assuming there will be more wool that I can get down the road. And then my big project I've been working on knitting is my husband's sweater. It is Cobblestone by Jared Flood. I used Barrett Wool Co. in the Wisconsin Woolen Spun. I just took him out and got some photos, which maybe I'll insert here or at the end of the, let's stick it up. You can see it better. This yarn is just, it's a delight to knit. It's because it's woolen spun, it is lightweight, and yet it's going to be warm. In fact, my husband and our oldest son especially, actually 2 of the 3 boys have my husband's general stature. And our oldest son and his wife were here, as I said, to help take care of me after surgery. And I finished this the night before surgery because I didn't know how laid up I'd be or whether I'd feel like I could knit. So I just powered on, and I do love it. And he tried it on. And said, our oldest son, and he said he wanted one just like this, same color and everything. Now, I'm not a fan of knitting something back to back, the exact same thing, but especially a big project like this, but he really wants this, and so I will, but I'll probably wait till fall and do a sweater in between. But it has, as you can see, it has a garter stitch yoke, and then it has garter stitch panels up the sides, which if you look at it on Ravelry, you don't really see it in the photos. And so that was a pleasant surprise because I think that it really sets it off. Instead of doing garter stitch ribbing at the bottom, I did a 1x1 rib and then continued the garter stitch panel. And I like that too. Susan B. Anderson and I did a little knit along. She finished way before I did, but I had a lot going on. Hey, we weren't racing or anything. We were just kind of talking about our modifications. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the audio. Generally, I talk about the audio. I talk about things on the audio first and then show them on here, but I couldn't wait to show you that sweater because I just think it turned out fantastic. Okay, Gayle, let's see what's next. The Tomten jacket I talked about on the audio, I already packed it away, so I don't have it here, but I'll put some photos in. What's that noise? Oh, sorry. I always have to take her short. Edit. No, we'll leave that in. Anyway, I'm picky with that. But it is a pattern that's been around. I mean, our son he's 41, 42, it's 41, I think, or 40. I don't know. But anyway, he's around that age. And I knit this Tomten jacket for him. And then when the granddaughters were here, it was pretty chilly and they didn't have winter coats or anything. So I was able to put this on our oldest granddaughter, who's 3 3/4. And it fit over her Odette hoodie and looks so cute. So I'll probably get some of those photos either here or at the end. But if you have not knitted a Tomten jacket by Elizabeth Zimmermann, it is a classic, I think, pattern, and it has a pointy hood. And what kid doesn't look good with a pointy hood? It looks so cute, like little elves. And it's all garter stitch, so you can't complain about that. I mean, well, that you could. Okay, now quilting and stitching, we'll move on. I think that's it on the knitwear. So why don't you go, since I've been talking, and then I'll show.
Okay. She got me into a new hobby, and it's called Sashiko. It's Japanese embroidery, and she told me to get this book, which of course I did. It's called Mending Matters. It's by Katrina Rodabaugh, and I got it on Amazon. It was Amazon Prime for $16.99, and I'll show you the jeans I did. You can kind of see though it's mending holes in jeans, and I happen to have a pair of jeans that needed mending. So there's 4 different places. I don't know if you can. There's one, and I stitched the pockets. Can they see that?
No, go down.
I can't see.
Go down. Here. Down. There. They can see the
that
pockets.
one. And then this is the biggest hole, and I was actually, when I would put them on, my foot would go through the hole. So that was the biggest one. And then on the other side is that hole, which was pretty big too.
Mm-hmm.
So I repaired it in 4 places, and that was fun. And
well, first of all, the Sashiko is, we think we can explain it.
yeah, you try.
Sashiko is the actual stitching. That we've heard it Sashiko and Sashiko, so we're not really sure. So go ahead and tell about that.
Oh, this was a little kit on Amazon where it came with the 3, they call them dishcloths, but I would never use it as a dishcloth. I would just put it on a table with a plant on it or something. But it's just all running stitch. And I got a kit with 3 different patterns that were already printed on the fabric. And then it came with needles and 3 thimbles and the thread. And let's see how much that was. That was $26.50 Amazon Prime. And it actually, a lot of these things only have Japanese directions. There was Japanese directions on the back, but it came with English directions. So that was really good.
So she did this first because she hadn't done the stitch before. It's basically a running stitch, but they do have special needles for Sashiko. And I was introduced to boro, which is the mending. So the way we look at it, and boro is like a subset of Sashiko because you use the stitching in the boro, but boro is mending. And as this title, Mending Matters, indicates, and we'll talk a little bit more about the book. Now, a long time ago, I probably showed you this, which is one of the squares that I've done just playing around with the idea of using scraps of fabric. And I learned that from Kristen of Brooklyn Haberdashery, and I highly recommend her site. She is also doing a lot of shows. I think she's been at Rhinebeck, New York Sheep and Wool Festival, but I met her at Stitches Midwest. Must have been about 2.5 years ago now. So she came to my main retreat in 2016 and showed us some basic things about the boro and Sashiko genres. So I've used boro, the Sashiko stitching, just the running stitch, and then I just did some other embroidery stitches that I was practicing on that. And that kind of got Gayle excited about it. And when Gayle gets excited about something, we're the same that way. We go on. We go at it head on.
Yeah.
So
so for some of these fabrics, she ordered, and then of course I ordered from Brooklyn to Haberdashery, an assortment of the actual Japanese kimono fabric. Then I, on Amazon, ordered, this is Moda, and it comes in 17 fat eighths with all this, you can see, I won't set them all out, but all different kinds of fabrics. Then the other thing I did was I went to, because you only need small pieces for these, whether you're doing placemats or coasters or whatever you're working on. But at Joann Fabrics, and then this is woven fabric that would look good in something like that. The nice thing about that is that I asked them, I said, how much do you have to buy? Thinking it'd be like an eighth of a yard or half of a yard. And she said, oh, you can buy an inch. So I bought 4 inches of a bunch of different fabrics that I just thought looked old Japanese type.
Or would look good on the boro. So yeah, so the indigo dye, I think, is what they call shibori. And so now we have a lot of, I have some that actually is indigo dyed. This is just printed to look like indigo dyeing. But if you're doing, I mean, for the most part, you can use those and nobody would, think anything of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of went at it backwards because you kind of need to know the running stitch before you do your jean mending. But I think her jean mending looks as good as anything in this book. I think you did a great job on that, really, for your first one. And I don't have any worn jeans that have holes in them. I have some that are closed. One pair that's closed. However, I've been reading the book since she's been here. When I rest, I'll look at the book, and one of the things that they mention is old dish towels. And I love dish towels. I have some that have holes in them, and I thought, why not? I can just play around with some of my 1930s reproduction fabric or whatever I want to do. And not that it needs to be patched, but I like dish towels when they're kind of old and have that kind of worn look of them on the edges. I don't know why, but it's just something that appeals to me. So she's been going gung-ho on this, and I just, because you had 4 places on those jeans. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll tell them
about where you got the fabric.
Yeah. This, actually in the Mending Matters book, there's a pattern for a tote bag. And I went to Goodwill, and this is one side of the pants. It was like a men's 3X or something like that for $3. So of course I have 2 panels, so I can make, well, I guess you use one for the straps of the bag and then you use the other for the bag. So if you were just wanting to get into this and try it without getting kits and stuff, you could actually just do the running stitch and do coasters or whatever and just use denim for your background. So instead of like a fabric like this, you could
that's just a regular quilting cotton.
And these were just scraps. I mean,
some of them were, and some of them were from Brooklyn Haberdashery, because when she was at the main retreat and also at Stitches Midwest, I bought quite a bit. Now, let's show your jeans one more time, I think, because I wanted to say something about, now I remember too. There were several projects in this book that we also have pegged to do. And you need to talk about that. Yeah. But it kind of in the back, they show all different types of repair and emphasize, or she shows the beauty of irregularity and imperfection, which I think perfection is way overrated in this world. I think there are times when you do need to focus on perfection, but there are other times when you don't. And I think that perfection can stifle creativity in many ways, because if you feel like you can't do it perfectly, then you might not do it. But this is one, it's an oversized linen cowl. I know I don't need any cowls, but for this, I think you take a pair of pants and cut.
Yeah, it's either one you do there's another pattern for a shawl, and one you use pants and one you use a linen jacket. And I looked at Goodwill and found the linen jacket, and I was so excited, but it was like a size 0, so I figured my cowl would be pretty tiny. But I kind of like the thrill of the hunt at Goodwill, so I'll go to my Goodwill. I just went to the one that
there's another linen. They call this a linen shawl, and there's minimal stitching on it. They just do the running stitch around the edge. You could do as much or as little as you want. There are essays in this book from people that do this as well, the slow fashion. And since a lot of people on Instagram are doing Me Made May, that clothes they make themselves, and for the goal of making a totally handmade wardrobe. I'm not interested in doing that because I don't like to sew clothing for myself, but I like this kind of thing. And let's see what I was looking for. I don't remember now. But I wanted to show those projects because it's not all mending, but she does show you how to do mending on different parts of a jacket, or there's one jumper that she has that had a hole. And so on Gayle's jeans, the denim was behind.
Mm-hmm. You can do it on front or behind.
You can do it either way. And so for this, it was all in front. But I have another little piece downstairs because when Kristen did the workshop for us, she showed us cut the fabric and widen it out and do the patch on the back. So I really like this book. And there's a foreword. The foreword is written by Natalie Shannon of Alabama Shannon. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Because I think she's one of the ones that started this whole slow fashion movement. And yeah, so Mending Matters, we both really like it. And we both have some other books that we've ordered as well.
Should I show this while we're doing embroidery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Then the old-fashioned embroidery, I don't know if it's in style now or what, but I purchased these dishcloths at Paula's local quilt shop, Peddler's Way, and they have them with the stripes in different colors. And then I bought a kit with the different patterns that you could put on it. And I used my light box and just traced them on, and then did the old-fashioned embroidery. So that was kind of fun before I got into this.
Yeah, then she went full
So I
steam
have
ahead.
3 more of these to do.
Yeah. Peddler's Way has some really pretty tea towels. Just with that, they're woven. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, this is the thread that came in the kit, but you can buy it on Amazon. You can see it's all Japanese writing on it, but I really like this. I know Paula knows somebody that didn't like the Sashiko thread, and I'm thinking maybe it was the type they had. This is by Yokota, Y-O, how do you spell that?
I have it linked in the show.
Oh, okay.
Well, it may not be linked, but it's written down.
Yeah, it's kind of Yokota, like it's pronounced. And, but it's there's thin and there's thick, and this is the thin. And you can thread your needle very easily. You don't need a needle thread or anything. I love that because it went really quick. The needles, the Sashiko needles, are really long. And so you add a lot of stitches on one thing. And when I've done embroidery before, I've had problems of my thread knotting up. I've had problems of it twisting. And this was just really fun to sew with because it's such quality thread. So I would recommend this thread.
Tell about how you almost ironed this with.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
This is from the kit, the pre-printed.
It was a pre-printed kit, and it's chalk. And the thing, when it came, was very wrinkled, and my first instinct was to iron it before I stitched it. And then luckily I read on the directions that ironing is what erases all the chalk. So I would have erased the whole pattern if I had ironed it first. So.
Yeah, they said use it as a dishcloth, but
no way.
And then why don't we tell about that collection, Debbie?
Oh yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but I didn't say. It's Nuno Fat 8s, and Nuno is the word for Japanese cloth. It's by Moda, and then it was $29.40 for 17 of them, and they're 19 by 22 inches, 100% cotton.
By Debbie Maddie. She's the
designer
of the line. Okay. So that's is that all your stuff
Yeah,
there?
that's all my stuff.
Okay. I'll take some close-up photos of some of the patches that she did and put them in here or at the end. I'm not sure yet. So now we need to regroup and bring some of my stuff over here and clear the table just a little. So we'll do that.
You talked about this last time. We just didn't show it yet.
It hadn't been quilted.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're back. You just can't see our heads. So here we are with my maker's quilt, which you've heard about many times. And I think in the last episode I had the top done, but it had not been finished off. So I sent it to Nancy, who is Grace and Peace Quilting. Now we're really gonna have, it's so big, but each square on here, most of the squares represent a quilt that I did between 2010. Well, these two were 2010, and then I started again in 2015 is this one. I thought this could end up looking like a big mess, but it doesn't, to me anyway. And yeah, show that. This represents that represents my Sashiko boro era that I did things in. And there's wedding quilt. I usually make a couple of extra blocks when I make a quilt. So some of these, all I had to do was just put it on the batting. And I did use the quilt as you go method for this. And it's a perfect way to do that, to apply that method. And yeah, there's just, it is somewhat chronological from this corner down, but it's quite large.
Yes.
So
it is.
yeah, you really can't see the whole thing. I'll try to get a photo, but quilts are just notoriously difficult to do that with. Okay. And then the second one that I've been so excited about, and I actually got it back fairly recently. This is the first time I've ever had custom quilting done. This is the fabric that was sent to me by Jean, and here's the quilt. It is Civil War reproduction fabrics. It was a collection by the Smithsonian, and I enjoyed this so much. It's my own, well, I just did yeah, I'll tell you after we get it down, but you can't really.
It's big.
We'll go back a little. Hopefully we won't back ourselves down the stairs, but yeah.
It's really big.
And the back is, I forgot to show the back on the other one, but it's this purple and green fabric, and then it has a purple print binding. So let's see. Oh, I want to say a few things about that. Now I can't remember. Oh, this is where I really found that the tool for the flying geese pattern was just essential because I had to make so many of them. And I talked about that in a previous episode, but it really did just make this so much better. And these squares were originally this block of these smaller diamonds were really just blank. I mean, it was just the fabric. And I thought it needed something else, but I didn't quite know what it was. So I sent a photo to my friend Jo, and she said, what if you put a square within that square? And I thought it was a great idea. And then she also, we kind of tested it. Well, she was actually here when we did that. That was during or right before the retreat up at Eagle Crest. So she was at my house, and we played around with it. First we played with doing the same fabric, and then I just thought, hey, let's try the scrappy. So we liked the scrappy look on that, and we have a lot of different fabrics in that little square. And now I can't even imagine the quilt without it. I think it wouldn't be nearly as pretty as it is. The quilter did custom quilting on it, and just a fabulous job of choosing feathering in some places, and I'll try to put some photos up of this as well. It just turned out great, and I love it. It's a thin batting, which I think is our preference in general, and it's all cotton. And we have washed them, so they are pretty much in their wrinkly,
soft,
wrinkly beauty right now. And every night, even though it's middle of May, it's been so cold here. We've had evenings down in the 40s usually. We curl up in our quilts. That's just what you do. Now Gayle's tempted, but it's going to be in the 70s today for the first time.
In the summer, I put my air conditioning up so I can cuddle in a quilt.
So this is the last one I finished, and all I have to do is add a little monogram I'm going to do. But this is a baby quilt. I've done it before. It's called Charm Pack on Point by Jenny Doan of the Missouri Star Quilt Company. I can't remember which block it's in the last Christmas one, Christmas block magazine, if you have that. But it's called Charm Pack on Point, and you can look it up online as well and find the tutorial. I believe the original has a border on it, but I chose to leave the border off, and I found this. I actually think this is a really, really dark navy, but it almost looks black, that you could use it. I don't know. It depends on the lighting. And it's a very low volume quilt. The fabric is a collection from Blueprint. It was Craftsy when I bought it, so that's why I stumbled. And then the backing, I already had the flannel. It's pink and white. Well, it's white background with pink polka dots for that. And it's just a really cozy, cuddly quilt. I quilted it myself. I just generally do the meandering. I know some people think that's kind of boring, but I just like to just forget what I'm doing. I also like the way the binding picks up these little bits of the swan's faces or beaks. And Gayle doesn't want me to give it away. You want me to keep it, but anyway, I also have the boy version of this fabric, so I might go ahead and make another one. It takes 2 charm packs. So this is the lesson I learned, kind of the hard way, but that's the best lessons, you learn the hard way because you never forget those. So this called for 2 charm packs. I didn't have this in charm packs. I had a layer cake or the 10-inch square set. But I thought, well, no problem there. I'll just cut these 10-inch squares into 5-inch squares, and every 10-inch square will give me 4. But then when I started pinning these together and I realized that that's not such a great idea with pre-cuts, because every manufacturer, I think, figures it differently with the little teeth that from the cutting. And these blocks were not very uniform. They're much more uniform if you just get the charm pack. So I would say if it says charm pack, what I would do if I just really had wanted to use that, I don't know what I would do. Well, I wouldn't do it. I don't know. I didn't enjoy this quilt as much as I normally do, especially for a baby quilt, which is one of my favorite things to do, just because there were challenges along the way. Things weren't matching up because of those little teeth. You count from the bottom of the tooth or the top of the tooth, and the 5-inch squares were not all the same. So that's a lesson I can pass on to you. It really is going to stick in my head, but it came out fine. Quilts are forgiving in many ways, and I'm just really happy with it, and I'm sure this family will be, what's it called? Oh, yeah, underneath here. Okay. And by the way, the quilt that's on the table is a kit that was given to me. It's one of the Moda Frivole tins, and it's kind of a patriotic red, white, and blue one. And I just usually have it hanging over a bench over there, but I decided to move it around. Okay, so let's see. Are those all? Oh, we wanted to show you the newest block magazine. This just came recently. If you don't get block, it's a great deal. I think it's quarterly, and it's $7.99 for each issue. You get 10 patterns plus some bonus ones, and the little table runner on the front here, that's one of the bonus small projects. And actually in this particular block, usually I find 3 or 4 patterns I would like to make. I didn't find any that I was sure I wanted to make except that little runner, and I think it's so sweet. It's called a 3D pinwheel table runner. And Gayle and I just watched the video yesterday. There may be another one, but we watched the live session with Misty of Missouri Star Quilt Company. It might be in another one as well with Jenny doing it. I don't know. But anyway, it was a lot simpler than we thought it would be. She kept saying it was really simple to do. And sometimes you hear that and it doesn't seem that it's that simple, but it did seem to be. And it only takes one charm pack. I don't have a charm pack that I think is what I want for this. So we may try to take a little field trip. Gayle's going home tomorrow though, so it would have to be this afternoon. But my idea is to either make one or two for my granddaughters. I think one for each granddaughter would be fun. And then they could, we could do their handprint on the back, just have a plain backing. So every year on their birthday, we could write down the first one would be 4 years, and maybe, well, she can actually write her initial. So then she could write her initial and it'd be a keepsake. So yeah, and the pinwheels are 3D, so it's just something different from that. And we both really get excited when our block magazine comes. This is a special issue. I guess it's a Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that, and let's see, I'm looking down. We have, I think, the rest, unless we suddenly remember something, the rest is what we're going to talk about, and I'll have some photos in here about how we fixed things up to make a really great magical, what do you call it, experience when my granddaughters were coming. Our oldest granddaughter was here when she was 16 months for Christmas, but she doesn't remember much of that, if any, but the baby, it was her first time. She was 16 months when they came. So we did all kinds of things and we had fun doing it. So here we are downstairs. This is what the overall looks like. And this is a antique daybed that our great-grandfather made with a quilt I made. And then here are pillowcases I made for the girls, the toddler pillowcases, and 2 dolls by Susan B. Anderson, Millie, and Morgan, which I had a ball making. We then come over to the book nook. Oh, I'm going to have to turn off the camera and turn on the magic. Hang on a second. Okay, now this is a little book nook, reading nook, play nook that usually my ironing board is here. We put a quilt on the floor, a quilt on the wall that my grandmother made when she was about 12 years old. I'm going to get up so you can see. I know some people will say that it's not right to hang a quilt, but you know what? This has been in a cedar chest for 75 years or so. So I think it can shine here. And then this dollhouse, it looked kind of stark, so I added some greenery, and then the little rabbits and mice will come down here. Baskets of books and stuffed toys. An antique youth chair that belonged to my great-grandfather when he was a boy. I have my miniature quilts along the wall just to kind of brighten up the space. There's a changing table. And then over here are baskets of handmade dolls. And then this Franklin Habit pattern for Flo the elephant. And in that basket are more things for the dollhouse. We then have the cheap stuff, baby pack and play with baby dolls. And the clothing is in a zippered pouch, which that clothing was actually mine, my sister's when we were babies. More stuffed animals. And then perhaps my favorite, no, the Susan B. Anderson dolls are my favorite, but these are my little felted animals that I showed you before. here's a little basket of teeny tiny little dolls that I collected or made. And then my first Root Children by Sybil Von Offers. And then a puzzle.
Go out to see the whale. She was only saying that because she wanted to go out and see the whale. She just liked to do that. So they did not.
So here's upstairs and the fireplace. Right next to it, we took all of our CDs, which we don't really use that much, and out of that cabinet. And then we put books and some little stuffed things I've made, needle felted fox, a little quilt bunting, and then inside here we have bigger books, penguins, another box of books with a stuffy, and the Western set. And we have another Fisher Price gas station. So that's pretty much the upstairs toys, which I think is fine. But we also have some other things that are tucked away that they won't see right away. Easter things, baby strollers. There you are. And all these little mice and rabbits that my friend gave me, they are going to go down in the dollhouse after the girls get here. We have little starry lights here, and this fake forsythia has lights in it, so it's kind of pretty. That's about it. We also have an ice cream maker, a popcorn maker. We have all kinds of things planned. I think we won't have time for all of them, but we're going to have a great time. Here's the outside. It's still wintry / March here in Illinois. It'd be nice if we were about a week or two in, but we'll do what we can and enjoy.
I don't know, babe. Those are licorice wheels. You want to try one? Okay, I'm gonna get you a piece. Well, Shrimper, there's a lot of things. Do you want to look a little bit more first? back in there.
I found one, but I can't. No one.
Well, let's look over here. Keep going. There's gotta be more.
You just gotta keep looking, babe.
I don't know. It could be. I don't think Papa counted. There aren't a ton of them.
I'm being careful.
Okay, well, babe, I don't think you should really. You're having trouble on flat ground.
Here, let's stay off that. Why don't you keep looking? Do you see any?
Look, I did.
There's one with an H.
An H. I'm fixing it. All right. Now what about over here?